Buckle up, everybody, because today we are going deep, deep into the world of habits with The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg.
Ooh, a classic.
It is a classic, and we like to go deep, and I think this is going to be a really, really fascinating one.
That is a good one.
You ever feel like you're kind of just on autopilot?
All the time.
Duhigg says over 40% of our actions are habits, not decisions.
Yeah.
That's wild, right?
That is wild.
Like almost half of our day is not even us making conscious decisions.
That's like saying we're not even really in control for almost half of our day.
Yeah, are we just slaves to these routines?
Well,
I mean, can we break free?
that's the big question.
Can we design our lives, or are we just kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what Duhigg is really getting at in this book, is that once we understand the science behind habits, we can actually reprogram them.
Oh,
We can hack the system.
okay, so let's unpack this source code then.
Yeah.
Duhigg talks about this thing called the habit loop.
Right.
Can you kind of just break that down?
Yeah, so the habit loop, it's really a 3-part process that explains how habits become automatic. So first there's the cue.
Okay.
This is the trigger that tells your brain, okay, go into autopilot mode now. This could be like a time of day. It could be a location.
Okay.
It could even be an emotion.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like if you feel anxious and you always reach for your phone,
Well-
that feeling of anxiety, that is the cue.
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you have the routine, which is the behavior itself. So that's the checking your phone or biting your nails or going for a run.
So in that example, it's me picking up my phone and scrolling.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. And then finally, there's the reward,
Oh,
the payoff that makes
That's right.
the habit stick.
and so in that example of my phone, what would the reward be?
So it sounds like for you, it's that temporary distraction from anxiety.
Oh,
Even if it's not really solving the problem,
Yeah.
it's giving you that little hit of relief.
it's like it's taking my mind off of it, even if it's not actually helping anything.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And that's the tricky thing about the reward, is it's reinforcing that connection between the cue and the routine.
Okay.
Your brain is learning, hey, when I do this, I feel better. And that makes you more likely to do it again next time you feel that anxiety.
So it's like I'm constantly rewarding bad habits.
Well, that's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
But the good news is, once you know how the habit loop works, you can start to identify those cues and rewards. And then you can choose to change the routine.
Oh.
So, it's not about being powerless. It's about becoming aware and then taking control.
So how do we do that?
How do we break these bad habits?
Like, is it just willpower?
Willpower is definitely part of it,
Okay.
but it's not the whole story.
Okay.
Duhigg actually argues that willpower is like a muscle.
Interesting.
It gets tired after you use it.
Oh, cool.
So we're more likely to give in to those temptations when we're stressed, when we're depleted.
Oh, yeah?
He describes a fascinating study
Oh, tell me about it.
where people who resisted eating cookies
Mm.
ended up giving up sooner on a difficult puzzle later on.
Oh, wow.
It's like their willpower had been drained.
So it's a finite resource, this willpower.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
So we've got to use it strategically.
Okay, so if willpower isn't enough,
Right.
what else can we do?
Well, one of the most powerful things is to focus on changing the routine,
Okay.
not just the cue or the reward.
Okay.
Duhigg calls this the golden rule of habit change. You can't just eliminate a bad habit, you have to replace it with something else
Okay.
that gives you that same kind of satisfaction.
Interesting. Okay.
So, for example, let's say your bad habit is snacking on chips.
Oh, chips are so good,
Right,
but so bad.
but so bad for you.
Yeah.
So let's say you're snacking on chips every afternoon. The cue might be that 3 p.m. slump.
Yeah,
Right.
fully.
And the reward is that satisfying crunch and that salty flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of trying to just stop snacking altogether,
Yeah.
which is really hard,
Yeah.
you could try replacing the chips with like almonds
Oh, okay.
or celery sticks.
Interesting.
Something that also gives you a satisfying crunch. You're still satisfying the craving, but you're choosing a healthier routine.
You're hacking the system.
Exactly. You're working with your brain,
Yeah.
not against it.
I like that.
And Duhigg offers a really cool example from history.
Oh, okay.
Claude Hopkins,
Okay.
the ad man who made toothbrushing a national habit.
I've heard of him.
You know this guy.
Yeah, didn't he use that like tooth film?
That's the
So
one.
many people want to brush their teeth.
Exactly. Before Hopkins, most people didn't brush their teeth regularly. It wasn't really a thing.
Huh.
So he created this marketing campaign that focused on this idea of tooth film, this invisible layer of grime
Right.
that you could feel with your tongue.
Ew.
Yeah, it's kind of gross, but it worked.
Gross, but effective.
Right. Suddenly, everyone's obsessed with getting rid of this tooth film, and Pepsodent, which promised to remove it, became like a national sensation.
So he made a cue
Yes,
to feeling that film.
exactly.
And he gave it a reward, the clean teeth.
The feeling of clean, smooth teeth.
Wow.
That was the reward.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like he hacked our habits.
He did. He understood the habit loop way before scientists figured it all out.
Marketing genius.
Yeah, he really was.
Okay, but what about like really stubborn habits?
Right.
The ones that feel impossible.
The ones that feel like they're part of you.
Yeah, like wired into my DNA.
Yeah.
Can those even be changed?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Wait.
Duhigg, he really dives into the neuroscience of habits, explores how they become embedded in our brains.
Oh, wow.
And he talks about this part of the brain called the basal ganglia. This is where habitual behaviors are stored.
Isn't that like the part of the brain that does like movement and stuff?
Yeah, it's involved in a lot of things.
Wow.
And that's what makes this so fascinating.
Hmm.
Duhigg describes this incredible case study
Oh, I love a good case study.
of a man named Eugene Pauly
Okay.
who lost his memory due to a viral infection.
Oh, no.
So he couldn't remember what he'd done just minutes earlier,
Oh.
but he could still form new habits.
Wait, what?
Yeah, isn't that wild?
How is that possible?
So Eugene's case shows us that habits are encoded in our brains on a deeper level than conscious memory. They become almost like reflexes.
So even if you don't remember why you do something,
Right.
it's still just like do it.
Your brain remembers the routine.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it's like driving home on autopilot. You might not remember every turn you made, but your brain still gets you there because the route is ingrained as a habit.
But that makes breaking bad habits seem even harder.
Well, yeah, it can feel daunting,
Yeah.
but it also shows us just how powerful habits are
Yeah.
and that we really can change them, even the ones that feel impossible.
Okay, but how?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, and that's what we're going to dig into in part 2.
Ooh, can't wait.
But I'll give you a little teaser.
Okay.
It involves understanding something called cravings.
Oh, craving.
Not just for like chocolate or potato chips,
Okay.
but cravings in a much broader sense. That anticipation of reward
Okay.
that fuels the habit loop.
Okay.
And once we understand cravings, we can actually use them to our advantage.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they can be a powerful tool for change.
So it's like you got to lean into the craving, but make it work for you.
Exactly. It's about harnessing that energy, that desire,
Okay.
and channeling it in a positive direction.
I like it. But before we wrap up this part 1,
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you said earlier about willpower.
Okay.
It's like a muscle that gets tired. So should we just try to avoid using it at all?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it leads us to another really fascinating aspect of habit formation,
Oh,
the idea of keystone habits.
it's Keystone Habits.
We're going to explore that more later.
Great.
But for now, let's just say that willpower is a valuable resource. You got to use it wisely. It's like a superhero's special power.
Love that analogy.
You don't want to waste it on everyday tasks.
Okay.
You want to save it for the big battles.
So be strategic.
Exactly.
It's like that.
And the good news is, by building good habits,
Yeah.
we can actually strengthen our willpower.
Oh, cool.
So it gets easier over time.
Oh, I like that. It gets easier.
It does. It's like training your willpower muscle
That's such a good way to put it.
so you can resist those tempting bad habits.
I'm feeling empowered.
You should. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's about becoming aware,
Yeah.
understanding these forces that shape our behavior,
Right.
and then using that knowledge to create the life you want.
Amazing. So what's next?
What's on our habit hacking adventure?
What else does this book hold?
Well, in part 2, we're going to explore the power of belief,
Okay.
the influence of social habits,
Oh, interesting.
and how even organizations
Ooh.
can change their deeply ingrained routine.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to get really interesting.
I'm ready to dive in. This is good stuff.
It is good stuff.
I'm learning a lot.
I'm glad to hear it. Welcome back, you guys, to our habit deep dive.
We're back.
We're hacking those habits.
We are hacking habits. And, Before the break, we were talking about cravings and how cravings could be used to break bad habits.
Right. Instead of just being driven by them.
Yeah, that was a mind blower for me.
Yeah.
Like, instead of being afraid of cravings, we could use them to our advantage.
Right.
How does that actually work?
Yeah. So Duhigg says that the key is to figure out what is really driving that craving.
Okay.
It might not be what you think.
Okay, ready? Give me an example.
Okay. So let's say you have a habit of checking social media.
Oh, a very common one these days.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Every few minutes.
Yeah, guilty.
You might think that craving is for, information or connection. But if you pay really close attention, you might realize that what you're really craving is that little hit of dopamine
Oh, okay.
that you get from seeing a notification or
It's the feeling,
it's the feeling.
not the content itself.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
It's a quick and easy way to feel good, even if it's just for a second.
Yeah, it's like a little high almost.
It is. It is a little dopamine hit.
Yeah,
So instead of trying to eliminate the urge to check your phone altogether,
which is really hard.
which is almost impossible,
Yeah.
you could try finding a different way to get that same hit.
Okay.
Maybe it's listening to an upbeat song. Maybe it's taking a quick walk outside.
Oh, interesting.
Or having a quick chat with a friend, something that gives you a little boost.
So it's like swap out a bad habit for a good one, but that still gives you that same reward.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
It's clever. Okay, but what about belief?
Okay.
You mentioned that before. How does that fit into all of this?
Yeah, so Duhigg makes a really compelling argument for the power of belief, especially when it comes to breaking those really tough habits. He talks about how Alcoholics Anonymous helps people overcome addiction, not just by giving them tools to manage cravings,
Right.
but by fostering a belief that change is possible.
It's like, if you don't believe you can do it, why even try?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Duhigg argues that belief acts as a kind of booster for your willpower. It gives you that extra push to keep going when things get tough.
Okay.
And he actually cites research showing that people who believe they have control over their habits are more likely to succeed at changing them.
Okay, so it's not just understanding how they work.
Right.
It's believing that you can change them.
You have to believe it.
Yeah. Okay, but what if you don't have that belief?
Right.
How do you even build that?
That's where social support comes in.
Oh, okay.
Duhigg, he emphasizes the incredible power of social habits.
Okay.
These are like the unwritten rules that govern how we interact with others.
Okay.
And he gives this powerful example of the Montgomery bus boycott, showing how a movement for social change was fueled by this combination of strong ties within Rosa Parks' close community,
Okay.
and then those weaker ties that spread the message even further.
It's like, it wasn't just her, it was the whole community that came together.
It was a collective effort.
Yeah.
It was a shared belief.
So are you saying that who you surround yourself with can really affect
Absolutely.
whether you break a bad habit or not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, our habits are so often shaped by the people we spend time with.
That makes sense.
If you're trying to quit smoking,
Yeah.
you're hanging out with a bunch of smokers.
Yeah. Not gonna work.
It's probably not going to help, right? But if you surround yourself with people who support your goal, who encourage you, who hold you accountable,
Yeah.
you're way more likely to succeed.
It's like that, you are who you hang out with kind of thing.
Birds of a feather.
Yeah. Like our habits mirror our tribe.
It's true.
So if you want to change your habits, change your tribe.
I mean, or at least expand your tribe.
Yeah.
Bring in some new folks.
Set some people.
Yeah, people who are already living the way you want to live.
Okay. I like that. That's good.
And Duhigg describes this really fascinating study where people were more likely to help a stranger find a lost contact lens
Interesting.
if they had previously received a small, unsolicited favor from that stranger.
Wow.
So it shows how even these simple acts of kindness can create this ripple effect and make people more likely to help each other.
So you're creating a culture.
You're creating a culture of support, of reciprocity,
Yeah.
and that can actually influence behavior.
That's powerful stuff.
It is powerful. And this applies not just to individuals, but to organizations as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Duhigg talks about how companies, they have habits too.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And those habits can be changed, especially during times of crisis.
Like when a company has to pivot? Like,
Exactly.
they have to change something.
They got to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
And he uses the example of Paul O'Neill, the CEO of Alcoa,
Okay.
who totally transformed the company culture by focusing on worker safety as a keystone habit.
Wait, hold on. What's a keystone habit?
So keystone habits, these are like the foundation stones of our lives.
Okay.
These are the habits that have a ripple effect,
Okay.
influencing other areas of our behavior.
So he focused on safety,
Yeah,
and that led to other positive changes.
exactly. So by making safety a top priority, O'Neill created a culture where people felt empowered to speak up, to identify problems and to find solutions.
Yeah.
And this in turn led to like increased efficiency, productivity, even profitability.
Wow. So one habit can change
It can have a huge impact,
a lot of things.
like a domino effect.
Okay, but how do you even identify those habits in your life?
Right, what makes them so special?
Yeah.
That's a great question, and we'll definitely explore that further. But one thing that sets keystone habits apart is that they often create a sense of small wins, which can be so motivating.
Yeah, those little wins, I love those.
They build momentum,
Yeah.
and they give you this feeling of, I can do this.
Yeah, like you're on the right track.
Exactly, you're moving in the right direction.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together.
Right, it's all connected.
Yeah, but it's a lot.
It is a lot to take in.
Is there a simple way to sum it up?
I think the simplest way is to remember those 4 steps
Okay.
that we talked about earlier. Identify the routine, experiment with rewards, isolate the cue, and have a plan.
Okay, so it's like a cheat sheet.
It's your cheat sheet.
Got it. Okay, so we got the tools.
Yep.
We got the belief.
You got the belief.
We got our tribe.
That's right.
Now what?
Well, in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore the ethical considerations of habit change,
Oh.
especially when it comes to things like marketing, how companies are using these insights to influence our behavior.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm ready to keep going.
Let's do it.
Uncovering the secrets.
Uncovering the secrets.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We are wrapping up our habit deep dive today.
That's right.
You know, it's amazing to me how much we've uncovered about these hidden forces that shape our lives.
It really is. You know, we go through our days and we don't realize how much of our behavior is actually driven by these unconscious patterns.
Yeah, and as we've been talking about, the good news is that we're not powerless. We can actually use this knowledge to kind of reprogram ourselves.
Absolutely.
But before we get all superhero about it,
Right.
you mentioned the ethical side of habit change. What did you mean by that?
Well, as with any powerful tool, there's always the potential for misuse, right? And Duhigg, he raises some really important questions about how companies are using our understanding of habits to influence our behavior, often without us even realizing it.
Like subliminal advertising and stuff?
Well, it's not always that sinister,
Okay.
but it's definitely something to be aware of.
Okay.
He gives the example of slot machines,
Oh, yeah.
which are designed to exploit our brain's reward systems.
Yeah, it's like they figured out the exact combination
Exactly.
to keep people hooked.
They know how to create that cycle of anticipation and craving.
Yeah, it's scary.
It can be very addictive.
Yeah.
And the thing is, most people don't even realize they're being manipulated.
Yeah, they think they're just having fun
Exactly, but their brains are actually being hijacked
by these habit loops.
by these cleverly designed habit loops.
So it's like our knowledge of habits can be used for good or for evil.
It can.
That's kind of a scary thought.
It is a bit sobering, and it reminds us that we need to be mindful of the messages we're bombarded with every day, right?
Yeah.
And to make conscious choices about the habits we want to cultivate.
We have to be the guardians of our own habit loops.
Exactly.
But how do we do that?
How do we take all this knowledge and actually apply it?
Yeah, in practical terms.
Well, remember those 4 steps we talked about?
Yeah.
Identify the routine, experiment with rewards, isolate the cue, and have a plan.
Okay, it's like a cheat sheet.
It's your habit hacking cheat sheet.
Okay, got it. But how do you know which habits to focus on?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. Where do you even begin?
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is to focus on the habits that are going to have the biggest impact on your life, the ones that are really aligned with your values and your goals.
So it's not just changing any habit.
Right.
It's choosing the ones that matter.
Choose the ones that are going to make a real difference.
Okay, so if I want to be healthier,
Yeah.
maybe I focus on exercise and eating.
Exactly. Those are the habits that are going to move you closer to your goal.
Okay, so what if you mess up?
Yeah. What if you slip up?
Yeah, you're trying to break a bad habit
Right.
and then you like fall back into the old patterns.
It happens. It's totally normal.
Okay.
Don't beat yourself up about it.
Okay.
Just acknowledge it, learn from it, and then get back on track. It's like learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall a few times before you really get the hang of it.
It's progress over perfection.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot today.
Yeah.
The science of habits, the ethics, the practical steps. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway from the power of habit is that we are not at the mercy of our habits. We have the power to choose them, to shape them, and to use them to create the lives we want.
I love that. That's so empowering. And, this whole deep dive has really been eye-opening for me. I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to my own habits from now on.
Me too. It's like we've been given this secret decoder ring to unlock the mysteries of our own minds.
So as we wrap up this episode, this habit deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. If our habits are the sum of our choices, what kind of life are you building, one choice at a time?
That's a great question to ponder. And remember, even small changes can have a big impact.
So choose wisely, be persistent, and believe in your power to create the life you want.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us today, and until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep hacking those habits.
See you next time.